Bonjour, everyone. Hi. Welcome to the Communications from Home. I'm your host, Neshi Lokotz. And tonight's Tuesday, October 1st. Can you believe that? My goodness. September went like that, didn't it? It did. Oh my gosh. So tonight, I feel like I haven't been here for this show for a while. Last week we had Unity Breath Meditation, which is always good. I always look forward to that. But the last time I actually had a show for Communications from Home was almost 3 weeks ago because I was on vacation. And so tonight feels like a whole brand new beginning on October 1st. Tonight, you know what? It's still raining here in northwestern Wisconsin where I live. It's been raining since about 10 o'clock last night, and it's still raining. We've had a few thunderstorms go through, but it is pouring out there. So I'm glad I'm in here at Star Nations Academy, where I do most of my my live streams from. And it's nice and dry, and it's quiet up here. My house gets kind of noisy, just a little bit. So that's why I moved all my shows up here, so I don't have to deal with all the noise. So before we start rolling down the road too far, I was going to ask you guys this question. And the question is, do you enjoy having spiritual conversations or conversations about spirit? Do you enjoy that? I do. I do immensely. And so that's why most of my shows have that quality to them, because I really want to know what you're feeling and what you're thinking about the topics that I have. And so tonight's no different. It's no different. If you have a friend, or if you would like to let people know on your newsfeed, I'm going to send this show over to my newsfeed, and I invite you to do the same thing. And that way we have, we've actually done something nice for someone, right? And so that's what I'm going to do. I am going to love it, and then I'm going to send it over to, why won't it let me share? That's weird. All right, I'll have to go over here. And we're going to send it over to my newsfeed, because I want my friends to know that I'm live streaming. Just to remind them, because we get so busy, sometimes we forget, and time goes by quickly, and before you know it, it's like, oh, I was going to watch that, right? And we just get busy. So I'm just reminding them, and see if they'll want to come out and play. There we go. And there. And the other thing that I usually do is I usually send the live stream over to one of our closed groups here at Star Nations. And that closed group is the Star Nations live stream shows closed group. And that is where a majority of our most active community members kind of hang out. And so what I would like them to remind them, right? And just so that we let the peeps know. There we go. And see if they want to join us. There we go. Doesn't take long. There, we're done. We're done. Let's see. And then I always like to check to see who's with me in the chat. And look who's here. Rochelle is here. Hello, Rochelle. Oh, thank you so much for letting us know you're grounded. That is going to come in handy for this discussion, for this conversation. And Jocelyn's here too. Hi, Jocelyn. It's always good to see you here. And Violet's here. Yay, Violet. I'm so glad you're here with us. And Rochelle says, yes, I do enjoy them, our spiritual conversations, and so does Violet. I know, there's something about them, right? Because we don't sometimes we don't have the opportunity in our everyday lives to sit down and have that kind of conversation with someone. And I crave it. I do. And Julie's here. Hey, she says, you look rested and very sprightly. Thank you. Definitely love conversation about spirit. That's right. And thank you for sharing, Julie. Yeah, I do. I feel really good. Listen, I was in Colorado, Estes Park, and we were doing a lot of forest bathing in the Rocky Mountains. And I was with Nature Travel Adventures. That's Minnie Kansman's new business. And I was there to support her, but more importantly, I was there to recharge my batteries. And let me tell you, it felt good. And then I was home for a few days. And then my sisters showed up for our annual gathering. We've been gathering together, the 5 of us, for, oh gosh, it's got to be 10 years now. And we also do monthly calls, Skype calls, and we really nurture that friendship. And yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend. And Rochelle says she sprinkled. Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you so much for doing that. You know, I kind of see that as an energy worker's civic duty. That's how I look at it for myself, right? Whenever I find a post, a video, you know, a meme, something that helps me along my spiritual journey, information, right, is to share it, because if I was looking for it, you know, someone else was too. And so we can make it a little bit easier on them, right, to find it. So that's why I do it. And so tonight's show, the topic for the show is all about changing times, right? And how do we trust our intuition when the energy around us and beneath us is changing so fast, right? How do we do that? And why would we want to do it? Why do we want to be able to be in the flow of those new changes, right? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to turn off the crawler. It gets a little distracting. Hang on. And turn that off. There we go. You know, I like our studio. Be Live TV, that's our partners at Be Live. They're the ones that help us do those cool things like with the crawler, and, you know, can have guests on with us, and we can show pictures and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, one of the things I'm grateful for is our partners at Be Live, because it makes our conversations with our community so much more enjoyable and fun, right? Yeah. So, hey, Connie's here too. Hello, Connie. It's good to have you in the house. Connie and Julie are 2 of our live stream show hosts here at Star Nations. You know, I think we have 13 live stream shows, and we have 10 live stream show hosts. And so we cover a lot of different topics, spiritual topics, and that's something else I'm going to touch on in just a few minutes. So, oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So the show tonight is all about how do we not just survive changes in the energy field around us, but to even thrive in it while we're going through the changes, right? While we're right in the midst of it all. Yeah. And I have to tell you, one of the things that I found that is truly, truly helpful, other than being grounded, that's huge, huge. But it is being out in nature. Even if you just go outside and sit in your yard, on your porch, you know, if you can, get your feet on the ground, depending on the weather, of course, right? And actually connect with Grandmother Earth, because she's the one who's doing all the changing. Right? She's the one who is increasing her frequency and her vibration. And when she does that, things happen to us because we're right in the middle of all of that change. And yeah. And so if we can stay in resonance with her as close as we possibly can, those changes don't affect us as drastically, right? Yeah. it's a little bit smoother. It's not saying that we're not going to notice, but it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be confusing, right? And how many people in chat, recognize that we're in the midst of this shift? Some people are calling it the shift of the ages, the shift in the age of illumination, right? Some of the telltale signs is all the chaos that's happening out there in 3D land. The governmental stuff all over the globe. Some of the other things that we notice is that time, literally the time seems to be flying by. It's going a lot faster than, say, when we were kids, right? Those are probably the two most noticed. The other one is our changes in ourself. Some people get physically very tired, fatigued, which starts to affect their immune system, right? And everything that you try over the counter doesn't seem to work. We've been talking, some people call it ascension symptoms, and you could call it that and still be correct in that. All I know is that wherever we have, I'll call it a weakness, okay, that's where we seem to notice the changes the most. Some people have physical issues with their body, right? And so they're going to feel it, whether they call it arthritis or retaining water, high blood pressure. Some of those things are medically, challenging, right? And that you do need to go to a medical doctor for. Others, no matter what you do, over-the-counter stuff, it's not going to help. Many times, essential oils, flower essences, working with stones and crystals, getting outside and being in nature, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes, a few times a week, is going to be very, very helpful. Yeah. In other words, we have to make time. Going to make time in our busy schedule to set aside a few minutes for ourselves, for our own self-care. Now, we've heard that phrase a lot lately, haven't we? Committing to self-care. What do we do for ourselves, right? Sometimes it is, maybe it's an Epsom salt bath. Perhaps it is getting a massage. It's those small things that can help us be more present. And I'm not talking about the time frame. I'm talking about being more in our physical bodies and experiencing the change, because it's part of our soul growth, right? Okay. I'm going to see what else you guys are saying in the chat. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. There we go. Rochelle says there's definitely a shift. Shooting in Finland, of all places. I know, right? Things that are shocking. Connie says we've been in the 50 now for 7 years. Yes, many of us have been able to feel that vibration and that frequency. And I'll tell you what, if we weren't able to be in that frequency, we wouldn't be here. Grandmother Earth is already in the high 4th dimension and 5th dimension, in the 5th dimension most of the time. So if we're not able to be in that frequency for any amount of time, we wouldn't be here. So, you can take that nice big deep breath in and kind of relax a little bit, because you're here. And you are thriving in many parts of your life. So thank you, Connie, for that. Yes. But not everybody is able to be comfortable in that vibration. It's kind of like we move into it, we get uncomfortable in many different ways, and we slide back down. Then we regroup, we get grounded, we do some more healing work, and then we're able to slide back into that higher vibration. And we're able to hold it for longer and longer periods of time, right? So thank you for that, Connie. I appreciate that. Rochelle says, Finland is a place I would never think of having a shooting. I know, right? Wasn't it voted like one of the best places to live in the world? Was it last year or the year before? So, even those places that had high probability of peace and harmony, they're feeling the effects of the change. Yes. And Julie is saying, I'm going through major detox and integration since the equinox on the 23rd and new moon on the 28th. Definitely physical symptoms, have to rest this whole week. I know, right? And I'm glad you're listening to it, Julie, and taking the time to be good to yourself and kind of lay low, right? To rest. And I know that some people don't have that we'll call it a luxury, but it really is not. To be able to take the time to do that, because some people have small children. Some people are taking care of elders, and we have to be very mindful of carving out that time for ourselves so that we do take care of ourselves. Rochelle says, I feel very content and happy, going on 2 weeks of content. Yay! Good for you, Rochelle. Really good for you. I know it hasn't always been easy. So enjoy and celebrate, right? Be grateful for the last 2 weeks that you're feeling good. So as I was preparing for the show, right, late this afternoon, and yesterday, one of the questions I asked myself was, why be ready for changing times? Why is that important? Why? Because there's a whole lot of people out there that, it doesn't matter to them, right? Why does it matter to us so much? Those of us that are awake, consciously awake on our spiritual journey here in this physical body, right? Why does it matter to us to be ready for these changing times? And I came up with 3. If you guys wouldn't mind, commenting for yourselves, letting us know, sharing, because we learn so much more from each other than just one person, right? And this isn't a lecture thing. This is a conversation. And so things that why you feel we should, or why you are wanting to be ready, wanting to do whatever you need to do to be able to be more comfortable in the shifting, changing environment. I thought of 3. I thought to be balanced as possible so that we can ride the wave. It's kind of like being on a surfboard in a way, right? And so now I don't surf, but this is the image that my team gave me. It's like coming in on one of those big waves, right, on the ocean. And you have this longboard that you're on. What's that old saying? Hanging 10, right? And to be able to be balanced so that your weight is evenly distributed in the physical, right? And you're able to ride the wave, correct? And you ride it all the way into shore. And then as the water is receding, going back out into the ocean, many people are paddling out on their boards to get ready for the next wave. That's kind of us. That's kind of like us. The paddling piece is going out there, is all the work that we do to take care of ourselves. We do our healing around our emotional, mental traumas. We may be taking some classes or reading a book, listening to live stream shows, watching them, participating in a spiritual community. We're doing our work. We're paddling out there to catch the next wave, right? And, you know, some people really wait for those huge waves to come. And others take any wave that's coming because they want to practice, right? They want to practice to stay in balance. I think it's a great metaphor. Although I don't surf. The other one is ready for opportunities. When the energy runs really fast, like it is right now, sometimes it's difficult to keep our balance, to stay grounded, right? And other times, it's easier. It's in that ebb and in that flow, right? But when we've done our work, and we're in we're going to call it a habit of doing our grounding, doing our balancing, getting our spiritual team around us for the protection piece, right? When we work that into our everyday lives, it becomes a lifestyle, right? A lifestyle. We're ready for those opportunities that the energy that's flowing right now, even though it's fast and it's changing, there are great opportunities in it. And when we're prepared, we can grab onto those opportunities. It's called carpe diem, right? Seize the day, and is to be prepared. And those opportunities afford soul growth. And that soul growth comes in all shapes and sizes, all shapes and sizes. And so if we can look at it from a more positive point of view, that this is happening for us rather than happening to us, then we get prepared. Okay, here it is. I used to play a lot of volleyball. I did. Indoor, outdoor, year-round. I used to play a lot of volleyball. And when you are receiving the serve, right, you get prepared. You crouch down, you get your hands together because you're going to be bumping that first serve, right? And so you're getting crouched, you're getting ready, you're balanced, you're ready to go. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. If you're not ready, sometimes you get beamed with the ball. Sometimes the other team figures out that you're the weak link and they keep serving to you. Dang it. And you keep missing it, right? Until somebody says, all right, this is what you do. And they give you little hints with it, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I know that this energy creates change. So do you, right? And if you're one of those people who is affected by change that kind of throws you off, it makes you nervous, there's some anxiety to it, right? The more important reason to be grounded and balanced, because it helps with that. Using the essential oils, right, to help you through that. And perhaps maybe there's some healing around that. Why is change more of a challenge for you, right? And then there's others who kind of thrive in the change. They see it as an adventure, right? And so, yeah, it's just being prepared for you, not for anybody else, but for you. All right, I'm going to get caught up with you guys in the chat again. So Connie is saying, we as light bearers are so needed and will shift as we adjust and balance. Yes. The more we can be prepared for it, right? Being balanced, being grounded, all those things, is that we help to ground that higher frequency on our earth plane through our physical bodies. That's why it's so important for us to be present in the physical world, so that we can help ground that change, those changing energies to the earth plane. It makes it a little bit easier for others. Now, I'm not saying we're going to do all the work for them. No, but we might be able to help stabilize our own environment around us, right? Yeah. Hey, Edwards, good to have you here. Oh, thank you. Nice to be back. I've been traveling around, including Naples. And so we were both kind of having fun, right? Good to have you back, too. Sounds like you had a good time, too. in Italy. Julie says, we are healers and way showers, volunteer to go through and demonstrator for others. Often we're first to sign up. Our souls do, maybe not our humanness. No. Isn't that true though, right, Julie? Is that when we're learning how to be prepared, when we're remembering how to be prepared, in our humanness, we think, what the heck? I thought I already did this, or why am I experiencing this? And we sometimes take on the cloak of victimhood, right? It's happening to us. Why am I getting so beat up by the universe? And really what we need to do is kind of turn that around, right? We have to have a little bit of an attitude adjustment and say, okay, so what's really going on here? Talking to your spiritual team and saying, what is going on? I would like to know about this with some clarity. And once we get the clarity, then we step into the role as that way shower, right? That we're on the leading edge. I've been there so much of my life, out there on that cutting edge, right? Ahead of the curve is what one of my friends used to call it, ahead of the curve. Yeah. And so it's really important for those of us that are awake, consciously awake, that we are doing everything that we can to be prepared, doing our own healing work, being grounded, right? Being balanced, taking good care of our physical body. In other words, we're eating as well as we can, right? Good nutritional, clean food, good clean water. We're getting enough rest. We're getting exercise. We're moving our physical body, right? We're just not sitting in a chair or on the couch. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's all in balance, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's being in balance. VB back row digger here. I know, volleyball, right? One of the best things that I love about volleyball when I play was returning the volley. Yeah. You might say ringer. Julie says, sorry, I lost connection. Oh, good. Okay, great. All right. So some of the other thoughts that came to me as I was getting ready here is that change may not be comfortable, right? But one of the things I do know for sure, because, it's through experience, is that we really do have everything we need right at our fingertips when we're going through these kinds of changes. We really do. We have our innate gifts that we came in with. We have all the skills that we have learned from different classes, both formal and informal, our life experiences, because everything that we've experienced helps us to be in this present moment right now, right? And the thing is that not to panic, right? Is that to remember to take those deep breaths, not breathing shallow, but really doing that abdominal kind of breathing so that you're taking in enough oxygen. And that's so helpful when you're calm, because you're the calm in the storm. You're the eye of the storm. You're the calmness there. And you can see it when you know that you've been doing your own work, is that when you walk into a room, into a building, you change the energy that's there just by being there. You don't even have to say anything, right? It's just being who you are. Yeah. And so either things calm down, or if you walk into a store and there's nobody there but you and the clerk, and pretty soon you've got people coming in. Why? It's because they're feeling a shift in the energy, which is you. And so they're coming in to say, hey, there's something here. What's going on here? Because they're feeling it. Yeah. So when we are prepared, that's an opportunity when we're prepared. And those opportunities present themselves in many different ways, right? And one of the things that happens, I think, is that we're also experiencing this so that we can stretch out of our comfort zone, right? For some people, that could be a moderate stretch. For others, it's a huge stretch, right? And it seems to me that when you take on the courage to be brave and to take that leap of faith into yourself and really do that big stretch, those soul growth moments are not just helpful to you, but you also change the frequency of your lineage. Does that make sense? Right? Because you're willing to heal what needs to be healed. I call that disrupting a cycle, right? And so when you disrupt the cycle, you're really stretching. And you're changing the frequency, the vibration of your lineage, which shifts the energy for your ancestors and your descendants and yourself, your own environment from the inside out, right? Yeah. You know, when we're doing those kind of stretches, I'm not saying it's easy. No, sometimes it's like, oh my God, what did I just do? Right? You're kind of feeling on edge. Some people who are really adrenaline junkies, they think that they feel like that's the feeling of really being alive because you're really contributing. And these opportunities, I don't know about you, but I see them as invitations to really reveal who we truly are, our authenticity, right? Because we get to use our gifts. We're just not talking about them. We're actually applying them, right? Yeah. And others see that. They sense it. If they don't see it with their own physical eyes, they're seeing it with their third eye, with their spirit eyes, their inner vision, right? They're sensing it, right? And we get to help pave the way for others to follow. We might be breaking new ground for them, right? I know. Those are the really, truly brave ones who like to jump into the deep end. Yeah. And so, one of the things that is really comforting to me is that everything that I have experienced from the time I was born to the present time has all prepared me for this moment, right? Everything, even the things that you deem negative, they've prepared you to be the best that you can be right now. Why or how? It's because you've done your work, right? You continually do the work. For instance, you're with a group of friends, people that you like to be with, right? And then all of a sudden, one of them starts kind of, making you feel uncomfortable because either they're saying something, they're doing something, and they're tripping some sort of trigger in you. The immature thing to do is to blame them. That they did it, right? The mature, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually mature person will say, I wonder, why am I getting triggered? What is that? And they're talking to their spiritual team. And they're saying, what's going on here? Why am I feeling angry? Or why am I feeling, hurt? Or why am I feeling impatient? And it's really rubbing me the wrong way, right? because there's something in there for you. Your friend is playing a part for you. It's not them, it's you. If you're the one who is feeling really off balance with it, right? It's an opportunity for growth. And so you're looking at it, and you're willing to go to the root or to the deep end to say, okay, let me see this. What is this? What do I have to shift? What do I have to heal? Right? Yeah. And you don't have to ruin your relationship with your friend. At some point you might even want to thank them or clue them in, because we're playing the part for each other all the time. It's never a one-way street. Yeah. And so, one of the biggest helps we have is our spiritual team, to call the entire team in. When you're trying to figure something out, when you're being that sleuth and you're thinking, what is this? What's this really about? And you're putting the pieces together so that you can see it, you can sense it, what needs to be shifted within you, right? Yeah. So I want to see this. Edward is saying something. He's saying, I'm feeling drawn to travel a lot, so going with the flow of energy and adventure. Well, good for you. I'm right there with you, really. Being a Sagittarian 3 times, there is this thing about adventure and travel, right? Truly, I believe that when we experience new places, new cultures, we grow. We grow. Yeah. Rochelle, good stuff. I know, right? I know. So, so this is what I wrote. It was kind of like channeling in a way. I wrote, our spiritual team can help us to be seen, your authentic self, and to engage our talents, our skills, our gifts. It's in the application, right? Because so many times we tend to hide our gifts. We tend to mask them a bit or water them down, right? But if we're in contact with our spiritual team, they can help us to be seen. And why do we want to be seen? Why do we want to be seen? Especially during this time, during these fast changing times. Julie touched on it. She says, as healers and way showers, we volunteer to go through and demonstrate for others, right? Because one of the things as two-leggeds, as humans, is that we may think something is unattainable, unachievable, until we watch somebody do it. And if they can do it, why can't I do it? Right? It's one of those kinds of things. And so we can role model it. We can't do the work for them, but we can role model it. We can encourage them. We can, if they have questions, we can try to answer them the best we can, knowing that my experience isn't exactly the same as theirs, but there are resources that we can share, right? Yeah. Rochelle says, your birthday's coming up. Yes, it is, in 2 months, December 6th. Yeah. All right. So Julie is saying, how do you work with your spiritual team during upgrades, dream time, nature, ceremony, automatic writing? What are some good ways to work with ST during these changing times? Would love your thoughts. Okay. Good one, Julie. Good one. Because that's where I was kind of leading to. So one of the things that we can do, that I do all the time, is I'm grateful. I say it every single day, at least one. at least one, right? And being appreciative, because it keeps our vibration up. That's number one. Number two is that I do still try to do some sort of meditation, even if it's only for 5 minutes. Because, my life's pretty busy between Star Nations and taking care of Mom and George and Paul. It's pretty busy. And I used to be one of those people who would do 30, 45-minute, an hour meditations, right? I don't have that luxury right now, but it's important to me to fit in a meditation, even if it's 5 minutes. Yep. The other one is I still draw divination cards, not every morning, but almost every morning, to find out what is the energy flowing today, what's important out there for me to know about. It helps me to prepare for my day, right? Yeah. And I'm still reading books, usually ebooks. I'm still taking some classes, not a heck of a lot, not like I used to. Like, for instance, joining Minnie for the forest bathing out in Colorado, right? Still doing that. I needed to recharge. And knowing how nature provides much more than our mental mind can grasp, we really do need to get out there, even if it's just for a short walk, right? Yeah. And so I have a lot of them, actually. During the fast changing times, see, I have my activated Merkaba since 2002. And the activated Merkaba, permanent Merkaba, is stable, and it helps me to stay grounded. It helps me to adjust energies as they're flowing through, and it helps me with protection. Okay. And so, and that doesn't mean that I don't experiencing challenges. It's just that I know that if something comes through my protective field, it's 5 layers of protective light, right? If something comes through, it's for my highest good. So in that, I'm already looking or perceiving whatever that energy is that came through, not as a negative, what's happening to me. I'm already looking at it as what's happening for me. What is it that I have to know about this, right? Right. And dream time, I come from a family that has a very strong belief in dreams. And so I still watch my dreams as much as I can. I still program my dreams. I'm still asking my spiritual team to bring me information in my dream time. Mm-hmm. So really working with them 24/7, every single day. Yeah. Ceremony. I'm not doing ceremony as much as I used to, right? Because I'm not teaching nearly as much as I used to. And when I was teaching more, I was doing ceremony more for each one of the classes. So ceremony really is more about those special times of year, the equinoxes, the solstices, and many times they're not even public. They're more private. Yeah. And there's a part of us that yearns for it, doesn't it? That ceremony, those rituals. Yeah, because I still give a lot of tobacco giving ceremonies, but most of it is personal. It's rather than public. And I also have my chanupa, my sacred pipe, that I use on occasion, not all the time, but I do use it on special occasions. Automatic writing, absolutely do that. I hadn't done automatic writing for a long, long time. In this past early spring, my spiritual team kept showing me 333s, 333. And in my world, that is a decision-making time, right? Yeah. But I was seeing it all the time. It's like, well, what decisions? We've just made a whole bunch of them. What more decisions can I make? And yeah. So I sat down with my team and was asking about the triple threes, and it had more to do with the ascended masters. And that those on my team that are ascended masters, I have 3 of them. That was their way of communicating to me that they have information for me. And so, as often as I can, I'm sitting down and doing automatic writing and asking them questions. Some of it is, what should I decide about so and so? Or what kind of business decision how is this going to affect such and such, right? But on the soul growth part, many times it is, how do I know? Show me how I can discern how this next piece is going to fit into my soul contract, which is, the soul contract piece. I finished up my first one in 2009 and started preparing and creating the second one in 2012. So, fun times. Those are those fast changing times, really. Right. Thanks for asking that, Julie. That was really, thank you, because it kind of is a good segue. Because one of the things is that when we're working with our spiritual team, as we're experiencing these changing times and trusting our intuition, it's really trusting ourselves, right? And trusting our spiritual team. Because our spiritual team really, really wants us to be at our best. They're cheering us on. They're willing to help us with anything, right? Yeah. A thought just went through my head is that many times we blame them for what's going on in our life, right? When that's just passing the buck. We're not taking responsibility for our own life. They can't live our life for us. They're not manipulating us. They're helping us, right? We still have free will. So even though they might bring us something that we probably even asked for, and if we choose not to do it or not to accept it, that's our free will. The only one that takes responsibility for that is us, not our spiritual team, right? Yeah, they love us. If you have a team member that you feel is being disrespectful, mean, speaks rudely to you, that is not somebody on your spiritual team for your good, for your highest good. It's probably somebody or something that's interfering with you and needs to be removed, right? Yeah, because a spiritual team member does not do that. So one of the questions I asked myself was, who will be affected by this energy change, these changing times? And if they're not connected to or trusting their intuition, how are they affecting others, right? And because everybody, even if they're not consciously awake, they're being affected by these changes. They may not actually see it or sense it on a conscious level. Yeah, but they're feeling it. They're feeling it, just like we do, right? And so herein lies the compassion and the empathy. Even though they may not recognize that the energy that's changing around them. So what are the changing energies? How do they affect us? Now, we said that grounding is going to be really, really helpful, right? Because when we're not grounded, these changes affect our physical body. They affect our mental body and our emotional body, right? So it can feel like we're on a roller coaster ride, right? You know, you got, I don't do well on roller coasters. I get motion sick. But anyway, you know, the high highs and the low lows, right? And then they always take that curve that you feel like you're going to go off the other side, the end. And so those sharp curves, right? Or the really angled descent, right? That's a kind of a rush. Yeah, you kind of feel like you're being jostled around a lot, right? And you're very emotional, whether it's fear, anger, depression, sadness, right? Jealousy. Yeah, all those lower vibrational emotions can be overwhelming. And if you're an empath and you haven't recognized that gift yet, or you're just remembering how to master that gift, these quickly changing times can feel like you got hit by a Mack truck. You'll even feel like you have flu-like symptoms, right? Your body aches, you have a headache, you're nauseated, you think you have the flu. Yeah. I know, not saying this to scare you, but there it is, right? There it is. And the other thing that we experience when we're not grounded, when we're not centered, is sometimes our finances get affected because it's part of the physical world. And you know, you and I both know that money is an illusion, right? Literally. It's you know, most of it's digital, right? There's not much backing the physical money. But many times our finances takes a hit. And so that's even a more important reason to be grounded, right? So that, because the money can represent your personal energy, right? Yeah. All right. Here's a couple I know I'm going to go over just a little bit. Here's a couple of things that I found. This one by Jimmy Carter. We must adjust to changing times and still hold to unchanging principles. There's some values, innate values that you came in with that maybe is still supported by your belief system, but there's other pieces or maybe fragments of a belief system that doesn't quite support your values because it's shifted and changed, right? And so we have to discern that change. And here's another one. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. It's a very well-known belief and saying that your deepest fear, on the other side of your deepest fear is your deepest desire. So when we confront and deal with the challenges of those fears, right, is that when we heal anything that's around that so that we can remove that fear, we get to tap into our deepest desire. So right in the middle of it lies the opportunity. Now, some people don't quite see it that way, but it's there. All right. And here's another one. As you dissolve into love, your ego fades. It doesn't go away. It actually balances out. You're not thinking about loving. You're just being love, radiating like the sun. This is the one that caught my eye when we're as prepared as we possibly can be. We've done our own healing work. We continue to do that. We're grounded and we're centered, right? We can tap into our gifts. We're applying them more. We trust our intuition. We trust ourselves. We trust our team, right? And so as we dissolve into love, that as we become love, we are love, our ego gets balanced out between the heart. So we're living our lives from our high heart, the balance between the mind and the emotion, right? You're not thinking about loving. You're just being love. You radiate it. Your frequency is at the frequency of love. Your vibration is at the vibration of love. And you can't help but not be glowing, radiating like the sun. Your inner sun is shining bright. I love this saying, this quote. All right, and here's the last one. Many of you will recognize this one. In fact, I'm going to give it its solo. It says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. That's the serenity prayer. Right? So as we're experiencing the fast changing times that we're living in, is that if we can remain in a place of peace and love and serenity, that we're going to be accepting of some of the things that we know that we have no control over, right? We don't. But when we have the courage, that leap of faith to stretch into the things that we can change, those are those life lessons. And so on the other side of that life lesson is the wisdom. Yeah. And so we're using a discerning, and discerning means that we're connected to and listening to our higher self, our soul. Our soul is leading. Yeah, it's good stuff, isn't it? This is the spiritual conversation. All right. And so Julia is saying the Schumann resonance has been fluctuating. Yep, I know. That's Grandmother Earth showing us her vibration, right? Her frequency. Yeah, I enjoy quotes that make you think. Me too. Me too. And here's a couple other tips, okay? I know we're almost at the top of the hour, but here we go. So how to be ready for the opportunities during these really fast changing times so that we can trust our intuition, so that we can balance our mental mind with our emotions, right? Okay, so here we go. Being grounded, being balanced, and being protected. Remembering that we are multidimensional beings. And so in our grounding, we're grounding not just to this earth plane, but we may be grounding to our star home too, right? And for those of you that caught Polly Jo LeBay show this morning, at noon Eastern time, Chakra Sessions, she had such a good show about this very thing. So if you didn't catch it, I'll put the link so you can catch the replay or the recorded show. But that also is a part of tips, right? Here at Star Nations, all of our shows are about spiritual topics. And all of our shows practically have tips to help you through this, right? There's Polly Jo's that I just mentioned. Ed Langen, Life Wisdom with Ed Langen. He does tapping. And he's helping us move any blocks or barriers that we have. Julie Hedges helps us to understand the astrological aspects of those energies that are coming to us, right? And how we can absorb those waves and how we can understand them so that we can remain balanced, right? Those are just for instances. And then there's Connie's show. Connie helps us to understand what is behind the mystery of these of our spiritual life, right? And she does channeling to tap into spirit so that if we have questions about our lives, she can help us to understand with some clarity, information that's important to have, right? Yeah. And then there's Mervyn Kelly with From Star to Stone. And he's helping us to understand the natural world through the perspective of Druidry and how stones and crystals can help us through these times, right? Yeah. So, we have, 13 shows. And I'm sure that if you're brand new to Star Nations, that you'll be able to feel which shows are going to be the most helpful to you. And those are the shows that you're going to be a part of, right? Like tonight in the chat and contributing to the conversation. The other thing is to continue your spiritual healing. Those traumas, those emotional and mental traumas that you may have experienced in this life, is to continue healing those layers, right? So that when we are in these really fast changing times, you know that you're tapping into your intuition, that there's no debris blocking your intuition or your gifts, or very little debris, right? Yeah. And if you ever get triggered by a conversation or behavior from someone else, is to remember that this is not happening to you, it's happening for you, to show you that there's something that you need to address within yourself, right? Yeah. Those are just tips. And the other one is that, I mentioned the shows, but we also have classes here at Star Nations. We're just starting the online, but we also have in-person classes too. Polly Jo has one coming up here at Star Nations next weekend. And that is an empowerment weekend. If you're really looking for a way to be able to heal and remove some pretty big energies, Polly Jo's the one to go with, right? And then in November, I have a Journey to Remembering. That's all about removing blocks so that you can remember what it's like to be in your heart. And we're going to be activating your Merkaba. Even if you have an established one, if you didn't upgrade to what we call the organic Merkaba, that's the one that's created from using both your mind and your heart. You get to go through and do that. So I did it. Yeah, I did it back in 2012. So, you can not just survive these changes in these times, you can truly lean on your intuition, help from spirit, and you can even not just survive, but thrive, taking advantage of the opportunities that are also brought by these fast changing times, right? Yeah. And we're all here to support you. We really are. And so please join me next week for Communications from Home at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm not sure when we talk about next week, but I'm sure Spirit's going to point it out to me. And so thank you so much for being with me this evening. And also thank you so much for being a part of the conversation and adding to the conversation. I truly do enjoy it, and I hope you do too. And for those of you that are watching the recorded show, if you have anything that you'd like to add to the conversation, please put it in the comments. Tag me so that I know that it's your comment is there, and so I can read it and maybe add a little bit more to the conversation. Yeah. So, oh my goodness. You're welcome, Julie. She's saying, thank you for this great topic. You're welcome. And with that, Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening, and we'll see you back here next week for Communications from Home. Ba Mamina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.